Well, film buffs, I'm back. Yes, I have been away for a couple months because of the state of things right now, COVID and all that. I'm back at the studio, Team Sound Studios, for another bunch of reviews. So I haven't been able to make it up here in a while, but now that things are starting to ease up as far as the restrictions, people are starting to go back to work, starting to be a little bit more social again, even if wearing masks. I'm not wearing a mask for my reviews, sorry. I'm back to review movies that I've seen during the quarantine, haven't seen before. So I'm not sure what episode we're up to, but this is how I see it. Welcome, film buffs. This is Straight Shooter. And today, my Red Band spoiler review will be of The Irishman. So, it's a Netflix movie. Obviously, during the quarantine, it's easy to catch up on movies on streaming services, so that's kind of like what I did. It stars Robert De Niro as Frank Sheeran, Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa, Joe Pesci as Russell Bufalino, and surprisingly, Anna Paquin as Sheeran's daughter, Peggy. It was directed by Martin Scorcese, of course, most people know that. So the movie was shot from the point of view of Frank Sheeran. He was in an old folks hospital, or old folks home rather, recalling the times of his life as a gangster and what happened back then. So he got to know Jimmy Hoffa because the crime families and the Teamsters Union were always close-knit. He was targeted by the government, he landed in prison, and he got out of prison, and while he was on parole, he was trying to regain his leadership, like get back on top. And the crime families were getting fed up with him because they didn't like a lot of his moves. He was saying to them, I'm untouchable. If you try to go after me, all of yous are going to land in jail. And so Russell was kind of getting fed up with Hoffa, and he contracted Sheeran to carry out the hit. And then there was this scene toward the end of the movie where Frank Sheeran kills Hoffa and buries him. The movie was pretty long. It was over 3 hours long, which is long even for a gangster movie. My impression of the movie is that it was kind of Scorcese light. It was a gangster movie, but there was a lot of narration, not a lot of action going on. It felt like it could have been condensed a lot, and there were good elements of the film, but they were bogged down by a lot of abstract scenes and long conversations. It's definitely not as good as some of his earlier gangster movies. Goodfellas, of course, being like top tier gangster movie, along with The Godfather and stuff like that. I kind of think that Scorsese and the actors that are in it, like, okay, first of all, it was great to see De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino on screen together, but they're all pretty much getting up there in age. And I think that the process has slowed down a little bit for them, so the movie slowed down as a result. And it's not as fast-paced, there's not as much whacking, it's just not as much that you would expect to see in an R-rated film. I mean, of course there were scenes that had to make it R-rated because there was a lot of cursing, like a lot of fucks and a lot of shit like that, stuff that they say to women and whatever, and it is a period piece, so woke culture, don't be too offended when you watch it. I kind of think that this was probably Scorsese's last gasp as far as gangster movies go. And honestly, I kind of feel like if he left his legacy where it was, it would have been fine. But he made some comments recently about like Marvel films and comic films, and he felt like he had to show them up. This movie wasn't really the one to do that for him. He could have just stayed silent and had his legacy, and people would have respected him anyway. People still respect him. And look, I'm sure there are people that probably love this movie. I'm just not in that camp. I thought it was okay. It was something to watch. It was a new movie while this whole stay-at-home thing was going on. But even so, it felt like a long time to sit in front of the TV. I actually had to watch it in breaks. Like I had to watch like an hour or two one night and then the rest of it the next day or something. And usually, like, if a movie's really good, I can sit through it no problem. Like the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, they couldn't be long enough for me. They're just so good. And Scorcese, he did this movie with the intention of making it like another Godfather type movie, but I think he's past a point where he needs to or should be doing that. I have a lot of respect for him as a filmmaker. He's made some great movies in his time, but I think The Irishman is a shell of that legacy. Putting the actors together on screen is great. The story he was telling. The thing about the story, though, is that it's from the point of view of someone that wrote a book. We don't know if this is the actual history of what happened with Hoffa and the gangsters or not. It's just one person's interpretation or what they claim. So it's kind of surprising to me that Scorsese would make this movie on that premise, because like Goodfellas was a true story. It wasn't just the account of Henry Hill. There were actual gangsters that were contributing to the story. This is just from the point of view of one person. To sum it up, it could have been shorter, it could have been faster paced, and I think gangster movie lovers will watch it. They probably won't love it. It's not going to be in like most people's top 10 of gangster movies ever made. But it was an interesting movie to watch if you have the patience for it. So to sum up how I see it, what am I going to give the movie? Let's say it was right about middle of the road, so let's go with a solid C. All right, guys, that's only one. I got 4 more for you. Stay tuned. Coming right back.
I'm working, not now. I'm working, no